the biggest hip-hop hits in the game. On Hip Hop Nation, Channel 44. Then, go even deeper with exclusive channels in the SXM app. Hear who's next on Hip Hop Nation Discovery. Or hit the gym with Hip Hop Nation Workout.
Jumpin', that boy's up to something.
For the latest hip-hop, start with Channel 44. Then explore more in the SXM app. To hear this channel, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800. SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
Did you know SiriusXM has over 100 extra channels on the SXM app, filled with ad-free music made for everything you do? Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
The springtime. We look forward to new beginnings, nature waking up again, and the SiriusXM Ultimate Spring Awakening Music Mix. Over 5 hours of fresh, happy songs to help you celebrate the longer, brighter days. The Ultimate Spring Awakening Music Mix. Find it now on the SXM app.
Get the SiriusXM app and listen on your phone when you get out of the car. Anywhere you take your phone, you can take Howard Stern, NFL Radio, and commercial-free music channels from nearly every genre. You never have to miss your favorite SiriusXM programs or commercial-free music. Find the SiriusXM app in the App Store or call 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/app to find out more.
The viral songs from TikTok's For You page.
All on one SiriusXM channel.
The stories behind the trends.
Presented by creators like me.
Like me. TikTok Radio. TikTok Radio.
Listen now on Channel 4
and the SXM app.
To hear TikTok Radio, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/go.
Did you know SiriusXM has over 100 extra channels on the SXM app, filled with ad-free music made for everything you do? Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
With traditional radio, you could be putting up with 10, 15, even 20 minutes of interruptions every hour. Visit www.SiriusXM.com/go to sign up online quickly and activate your radio. Say goodbye to commutes spent constantly flipping through the dial trying to avoid commercials, and say hello to commercial-free music from nearly every genre, available nationwide. Become a SiriusXM subscriber today. Visit www.SiriusXM.com/go to sign up online quickly or call 844-711-8800 now. Tune in a world of music discovery and tune out annoying commercials.
The biggest names in the NBA are on SiriusXM NBA Radio.
Joined by Zion Williamson of the New Orleans Pelicans. If you win, people remember that. People always remember winners. Like Bill Russell had 11 rings. Mike got 6. These are some of the greats. And they all talk about winning. So that's the kind of impact I want to have on the game.
To hear NBA radio, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visiting SiriusXM.com/go.
Amazing moments happen so much at SiriusXM. We want you to see them. SiriusXM Video lets you watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood and occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
SiriusXM is the home for the best in podcasts, including Let's Talk Off Camera with Kelly Ripa.
You might know me from TV, but now we're turning the cameras off and getting real. Uncensored, unfiltered, and maybe a little unhinged. With celebs, experts, friends, and more. Cal Penn.
Once you're an Indian American who told his parents that he's going to be an actor, anything else you tell them will just be way easier.
Let's Talk Off Camera with Kelly Ripa is available now on the SXM app, included with all trials and popular plans.
What are you listening to in the morning? Visit www.SiriusXM.com/go to sign up online quickly and activate your radio. Imagine waking up to the biggest names in morning entertainment: Howard Stern, Today Show Radio, news from CNN, Fox News, Bloomberg, NPR, or sports talk on NFL, MLB, NASCAR Radio, and more. Visit www.SiriusXM.com/go to sign up online quickly or call 844-711-8800 now. Activate your radio and begin exploring more than 140 channels.
Formula One racing like SiriusXM. Hear every thrilling lap of a worldwide championship chase.
Verstappen takes the lead in the Grand Prix. Hamilton couldn't hold him off.
Comprehensive pre- and post-race coverage.
That was the best race I've ever seen.
And a weekly insider look at the F1 circuit every Wednesday on SXM Wheel to Wheel.
There's been plenty going on both on and off track.
The 2023 Formula One season on SiriusXM Channel 81 and the SXM app. To hear Formula One on SiriusXM, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visiting SiriusXM.com/go.
I'm Simon LeBon from Duran Duran.
And I'm Kathy Krasner.
Every Sunday, we'll bring you Whoosh, an hour of songs that are really worth listening to. All of them chosen by me.
Plus, unfiltered discussion about what makes them great.
For a uniquely curated music experience. Whoosh.
To hear the spectrum, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visiting SiriusXM.com/go.
Chart-topping hits together and on their own. They bring it to their friends when I'm told it's Cheap Sweat. And it's the reunion of Guy with special guest Tank. April 9th at Oakland Arena. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com. Brought to you by the Black Promoters Collective.
Black Violin. The Black Violin Experience Tour 2023, March 24th, Crest, Sacramento.
And VIP customer care team. Add to that VIP perks such as free access to Stitcher Premium podcasts and access to live concert video and audio recordings through nugs.net. Enjoy all the entertainment we've got. It's all included with your Platinum VIP subscription. Become a VIP today. Call 844-711-8800 to learn more. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
SoundCloud is the undisputed online launching pad for a new generation of hip-hop stars. SiriusXM
SoundCloud Radio
is the place to discover the trendy new sounds, moving the culture, and hip-hop hits that broke through online. It's available anytime
on the SXM app.
But SoundCloud Radio is coming to Channel 44 all weekend starting tomorrow in the SXM app, free for most subscribers.
Just because you leave town doesn't mean you should go without your commercial-free music, play-by-play from your favorite teams, or the programs, entertainment, or news you listen to every morning. Get SiriusXM and get the radio you love coast to coast.
Collide with the biggest stars in dance. As Ultra Music Festival Miami comes to SiriusXM with performances from David Guetta, Swedish House Mafia, Tiesto, and more. Ultra Music Festival 2023 live throughout the weekend, starting tomorrow 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific on you and Channel 52 and SiriusXM.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. I love the thing. Welcome to the show. My name is Todd of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me, and people who love the universe. On a beautiful March the 23rd, 2023, I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton Big C Sports mention, as well as driving a fleet of Cadillac cars all across the universe. You can follow the Big C Sports Podcast on 27 podcast applications from Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeart-Radio-Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. And hopefully we can keep the robots. We can keep the robots from turning off all of the platforms. And we gotta add more platforms, and that's what's happening, especially on the African continent. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast on GeoSavan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa. You can find us on Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay. Isn't that something? Podcast Policy. And the only one, I used to joke about it, but I think I'm going to stop joking about it. Allfeeds.ai, and all that means is the robots are taking over, and we got to start turning the robots off, because they really are. There's so many companies, almost every day we hear of companies having layoffs. Not going out of business, but having layoffs, and they're replacing people with artificial intelligence. Even police departments are trying to replace a real dog. Fido's losing his job to a robotic dog. That's no joke. There's some good old boys down at UCLA. They were working on robotic mechanisms that look like people. It's a lot like Star Trek and Star Wars. I think it was RCPO, that robot, the gold robot that can walk around like a human being. And now that's not too far from fact now. We all know of the assembly line for automotive companies where they used to have people put together cars, and now they go down an assembly line. It's all robotic now, and that's kind of scary, because what if they learn how to turn us off and say we don't need people? They keep turning us on and turning us off. You know what it's like when somebody keeps turning you on and then turn you off? You know what that's like? Me like this, right? They might get rid of it. Man, that's just scary. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast, streaming OTT on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon and Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Give that some praise. Give that some praise. One beautiful, intelligent, black man really do appreciate doing work with Big C Sports. I also want to pay homage to our veterans crisis hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know, anybody going through issues, pick up the phone and call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do it, give them some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on whenever you hear a siren coming up behind you. If you're not being chased in that 500 horsepower, get the dough for the court system, is probably someone trying to save a life. So please pull over to the side of the road and let their first responders get through. They oftentimes can save lives if they can get there in the nick of time. So always make sure when you hear a first responder, the siren, I want to give over to the side and give them some praise. They really save lives. Some people don't even scoot over. Make sure you scoot over and make it easier for them. For you good old boys that want to do sports betting, 800 Gambler. I had one call me today. She said, Carlton. I said, yeah, this is Carlton. She said, Carlton, this is your girl calling. I said, well, who's my girl? She said, you know my name. I said, well, how can I help you, ma'am? She said, I want to get you in on the big game. I said, the big game like Big C Sports? She said, yeah, that one. I said, so what do I have to do to get into the big game since you say you're my girl? She said, well, can you put up a 500? I said, 500 what? She said, $500. I said, what do I get for $500? She said, I work for a guy that he has my kids in private school. He has my house paid off, and he's been really good to me. And I said, why you still working? If he's that good, why isn't he making the phone calls? Give that some praise. I had a phone call. Her last name was Markle. I won't say her first name. She said that her husband's been so good to her that she doesn't have to do anything. I said, Markle, I said, why are you calling me to get money for the big game? Get that some praise. Be careful. They always use some fancy name and say they're not working as they're trying to work you on get to those sports betting. We know March Madness is here, and people are going mad when they lose all the money and your credit card has been declined. You know it's pretty bad when someone says, if you deal with me, you got to know I come with substantial risk. Stay away from the sports betting. I know some people they won't listen, but they're out to get your money. They never want to put up their money. They always want to get yours. Make sure your kids don't understand, or they understand not to get sucked into that garbage, because they do. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight, Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, can I borrow $500? That's what God. No, that's not what God said. That's the wrong script. You know it's bad when God's saying, hey, it's a knock on the door. You're like, who is it? It's God. Oh, I don't want to answer that door. He said, no, everything's cool. It's not your turn yet. But I was wondering if you could do me a favor. Yeah, God, who would want to do God a favor? God said, can I borrow $500 to bet on this game? I said, may Latin is right. God wanted $500 to bet on a big game. You gotta know when you're being suckered, okay? Anyway, the name was Jesus. I said we all in trouble if God trying to borrow money from me. Life is funny. Be careful, 800 Gamma. They come up with all kind of scams to get you to give them your credit card. You can say the name was God. Okay, Jesus, but same thing if that makes sense. Yeah. the other was, your girl. They all try to get something out of your pocket. Just be careful. I want to pay homage to my beautiful family legacy like nobody else does in the history of the podcast universe. Big C Sports Podcast is the only podcaster in the universe that's like the Energizer Bunny. The commercials are done, and I go nonstop. I don't pause at 10 minutes. I don't pause at 25 minutes. I don't pause at 35 minutes. I don't pause at 50 minutes. I go nonstop. Give going nonstop some praise. Like those robotic cars and robotic trucks they're trying to use to get produce from the sea to shining sea is not always a good thing when they are getting rid of people. Not closing up companies, but laying off people because the robots, they don't call in sick. They don't need a sick day. They don't call in late. They don't leave early. They don't need vacation. They don't ask what their 401k is. They don't ask if they're going to have a pension when you fire them 3 days before their last day for the pension. They just keep rolling. All they need is motor oil and make sure there's air in them their tires as they're driving through them their hills. I pay homage to my beautiful family legacy. On my beautiful mama's side, my beautiful great-grandmother called her Mama, a beautiful, loving, kind woman, always making sure there's lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly, and really do appreciate her. And then my beautiful great-grandfather called him Pop, former military man and former Negro League baseball player, always saying, runners on first and third. They count full. The pitch, curveball, swung on, hit deep, left field, back to the wall, home run. You'll say hello to my little friends. He was known for saying the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. The real MacGyver could always fix anything from planes, trains, and automobiles. I'm telling you, all he needed was a duct tape in his water bottle. I really do appreciate Pop. And then my beautiful grandmother called her a mud deer. She was a seer, a person that was industrious, beautiful, intelligent, always trying to do the right thing for people. And she could actually look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. And oftentimes she still helps me to this day Really do appreciate Mud Deer. And then my beautiful grandfather, Hezekiah, another one of a person. He was a seer. Just had an epiphany. He could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. And then I could always depend on my mama. The most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Give mama some praise. A Head Start program, a food program, and coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. In an all-man's league, they were always saying, this is a man's world. She said, hey, but it would be nothing without a woman or a girl. I love giving my mama praise. The best person I ever met in my life. In fact, at her restaurants, everybody wanted Mrs. Curry's cooking. And at the church, everybody wanted Mrs. Curry's cooking. And at home, we all wanted mama's cooking. She said, son, how many places have you had? I said, this is a man's world. You know, that only worked a couple times. I thought it was funny. You can only get away with so many things. But I thought that was funny. Really do appreciate my mama. The best person I ever met in my life. Always saying rise and shine. Always doing the right thing. And just an amazing, amazing human being. And I thank God for my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then on my father's side, my beautiful grandfather called him Albert Curry. He was a pastor. He had 2 churches in Oakland. He built the 3rd church in Central California. He also owned 2 gas stations in Oakland, one on Bancroft, the other on Foothill. They were Shell gas stations. But I'm most proud of he owned 40 acres of land, like the Emancipation Proclamation, where President Abraham Lincoln was working with Frederick Douglass to craft the Emancipation Proclamation, where every freed black man was supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. And unfortunately, when President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson came along and he vetoed the bill. And he gave the land back to the insurrectionists. He gave the land back to the people that waged war on the United States, called the Union. He gave it to them. Could you imagine robbing a bank? You go to the bank, you rob the bank, you think you get away with the money, but then you're caught by the good old boys. And you got to go to the judge. And you say, Judge, well, we're the insurrectionists. We decided to wage war on America, and so we want to take everything you got. And the judge says, okay, you can have it. That doesn't make any sense. That money and those 40 acres and a mule, that land was signed by President Abraham Lincoln for black Americans called freedmen. And the courts let some good old boys come in there and steal it. Now look at all the money and land that has been bequeathed through the Confederacy and their generations, called the good old boys, that was robbed from black Americans. And reparations will happen. It already happened in Silicon Valley. But it happened for white Americans. Silicon Valley Bank, they're all Caucasian. And they had risky investments. And they say, we don't want the government in our business. We don't want regulations. But then they had lost a lot of that money due to some risky investments. The first phone call they made, they didn't call 800 Gambler. They called the federal government. And they said, Mr. President, well, we know we don't want you in our business, but we need some help. The president said, well, what's wrong? He said, well, we lost a lot of money that was not FDIC insured because of some risky investments. And he said, well, what can I do for you? He said, can you insure the money for greater limits than what it was really insured for? They said, what color are you? They said, Caucasian? He said, yeah, we can do that. And they gave him praise. And they put that money back in. Now you juxtapose that to the Black Wall Street. What happened when black banks were burned down and communities were burned down and people were murdered? Did the federal government come in and give those black banks and those business owners money to rebuild themselves? The answer is no. You know why? Because they chose not to. They did not make up the ethnic profile of the people in Silicon Valley. And that's a fact. But we know the Freedmans deserve that money. They deserve it now. They deserve it forever. You got to give that praise. You're only going to hear that on Big City Sports Podcast. Everybody else wants to go, touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Oh, man, Willie, he's going all the way. And you hear it all over March Madness. No one talks about reparations except for the predominant white corporations. That one shining moment, they take about 95% of the money. It goes into white bank accounts, white schools, the administrators, the presidents of universities, the coaches. They all get paid. And who doesn't get paid? Those young black kids. Oh, they get paid. They get an education. How are they getting an education when they're traveling the country playing basketball for free? Well, what about NIL? That name, image, and likeness. That's only for the top people. Everyone should get paid and quit doing what happened in the past. Just robbing people. They get a hat. They get a t-shirt, new pair of shoes, but they don't get money. And it's the same thing that happened with the Emancipation Proclamation when President Andrew Johnson came along and vetoed the bill. And when I watch black kids run up and down the court for March Madness, they look like me. They look like my brothers. They look like my friends growing up. They look like people that I know now. And I'm not saying don't play sports, but why has the paradigm not changed? Why is it that the ones who make the money, they don't get the money? Like the Emancipation Proclamation, that land, 40 acres and a mule, was for black men and their families, called freedmen. But the government came in and they give it back to the people that waged war on the United States of America. That's a joke. The Southern Confederates. And you know what? They had offspring too. They got kids, and now they're trying to take away black history, called the woke society. But we can't let that happen. We got to talk about it. And I know only Big C Sports will, because that's just the way love goes. But I really do appreciate my granddaddy with all that knowledge that he had and always willing to share what he knew when I was a young boy. And then my beautiful grandmother, called her Alberta Curry, working side by side with my granddaddy with the 2 churches in Oakland and helping to build a 3rd church in Central California, and then running the 2 gas stations in Oakland on Bancroft and Foothill. I was 8 years old, walking through a hallway. I was headed to get my reparations and some more cookies. And she touched me on my forehead, and I said, how in the world does she know I was tiptoeing through the hallway? It's 10 o'clock at night. It's called Mother With, or Grandmother With. She said, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. She prophesied over me. And now Big C Sports Podcast is syndicated on 27 podcast applications all over the universe and 4 TV platforms. I'm one beautiful, intelligent black man, and reparations will happen, and it's going to happen for descendants of slaves, descendants of chattel slavery, freedmen. Learning a lot about a lot of great things going on in life. The Black Wall Street want to pay homage to Reverend Tony Pierce, part of the Black Wall Street Project. Reparations will happen starting in California. It's for economic empowerment, justice, and equality for all. I know a lot of sports programs, they want to argue and yell about, man, just tell me who's going to win a game. We've been so trained. We've been trained so well, we don't even question if somebody's robbing us now. We just want to shout for the team that scores the most points. Well, they laughing at us most of the time. You know, they don't even fight for what's theirs. They'll just let you steal it. They won't even put up a fight. You know, like the government did when reparations, the bill was vetoed and given back to the insurrectionists. Some of us don't even say anything when someone robs you. It's a shame. I also want to pay homage to Aleem Shabazz, co-founder of Crescent Sports Media. Really do appreciate him and all the great things that he's doing in the world of work and sports and international sports. Really do appreciate them. Want to give them some praise. And then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that airplanes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. Always saying, develop your mind to its highest extent. In fact, my father, the first one to tell me about the SR-71 Blackbird. It can fly from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. in 1 hour and 8 minutes. An amazing plane, and the temperature got so hot on that plane, it would get up to 6,000 degrees. That's how hot it was. But it could get across the country in the blink of an eye. I really do appreciate my dad. In fact, in the Air Force, my father's roommate was a late Al Freeman Jr., who played the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in one of my favorite movies, Malcolm X, that was written and produced by the great Spike Lee and acted by my favorite actor, the great Denzel Washington. And I love the part when Denzel, he played in Coming to Dinner. He said, guess who's coming to dinner? And he showed up, and I think it was Katharine Hepburn and Denzel Washington. And when they answered the door, they said, nice to meet you. And he said, King Kong ain't got nothing on reparations. I think that's what he said, but they may have cut it out of some of that movie. And some people say it was Sidney Poitier, but I know it was Denzel Washington. They call me Mr. Tibbs. And everything sure did. But I love talking about reparations because it's going to happen. And Big C Sports is the first one, either lead following it out of the way, I'm not like the others that are sitting there going, man, did you see what a 3-point basket? I can't believe this guy can dribble the ball that fast. Woo! He gets up and down the court fast. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of guys have been really trained well that don't even ask for what's yours. That's why the lawyers are getting involved, just like at Silicon Valley Bank. When the money was gone, that was not even insured, the government came in and said, how much can we give you good old boys back? In the Black Wall Street, when they were burned down and they asked the government for help, the government said, we're going to give you a song called Lift Every Voice and Sing. Lift every voice and sing. Got to stop lifting every voice and singing and start getting our reparations back. It takes an act of the government and Congress, and that's going to happen. Really do appreciate that. And then love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then my beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice. Sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Always saying go forward. In fact, one of our favorite movies is actually Pulp Fiction. Love that movie. And one of the most rewatched versions that I've heard is the great Vin Rames when he told Bruce Willis before the big fight. He said, your butt goes down in the 5th round. He said, say that flip. And so Bruce Willis said, okay, my butt goes down in the 5th round. And he told him, he said, that stinging sensation you're feeling, well, that's just pride bubbling with you. And he told him what a lot of athletes tell each other on the courts. He said, blood pride. You know, I love that movie when Ben Rames said to Bruce Willis, he said, a lot of you boxers are unrealistic. A lot of you think your butt's like fine wine. You think you get better with time, but you don't. If you were going to be the champion, you would have already been the champion, but you're not. Take this money down to the bank and give me some praise. It's all fair and love and war. Really love that movie. Had a lot of truisms when it comes to sports and Pulp Fiction. And then love my brother Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then my beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors, 3.5 years. Very smart, erudite. Actually, Daisy helped set up the very first interview for Big C Sports. It was at Salem Media. It was the first time in the history of the United States that NFL Monday Night Football was broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. Isn't that amazing? Really do appreciate that. She would also set up to do interviews when college coaches came to the West Coast to do work with Big C Sports. You can be anything you want to be. As I always pray, Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. You can be anything you want to be. Just trust God. Have God always guide your steps. If that makes sense to you, always have God guide your steps. I love you with everything I have. And then my very handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College kid, very smart, erudite, as I always tell you, Isaiah 54:17, no weapon formed against you will prosper. Always ask God for favor and just give God praise. No matter what's going on in life, God can make things happen for you. Malcolm's very smart, intelligent. He helped me save trees. I used to always get the newspaper and look up stats for players and teams for the Big C Sports podcast. And one day Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. And I've been Googling ever since. Now I'm on 27 podcast platforms and 4 TV platforms. And I just appreciate you, Malcolm. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You can be anything you want to be. Just always count on God and always give God praise. And then Big C, with all that wealth and knowledge over the years, like my great granddaddy, with his good old boys coming out of that barn, always saying, you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe, saying, let's get ready to rumble. I love it saying, welcome to the show. ESPY-nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no 3-way teleprompters. I have no producer in my ear. My show is done fresh, like the collard greens and catfish I had last night. And I broadcast all the shows. I direct the topics. I always produce the show. The commercials are done. The stats provided. The storytelling. And then the play-by-play. Curry for 3. Love doing the play-by-play. And then the show's uploaded to 27 podcast platforms outside of New York City. And then 4 TV platforms. And then I never missed a show. Never missed a show with Big C Sports Podcast. And I really do appreciate that. It's not as easy as it seems at times. You want to do things in life, and it seems like sometimes things get in the way. I'm the producer. I do all that. So when something happens with electronics, it's up to me to fix it. I don't have 50 people sitting in a truck trying to scramble and fix it. Then I never missed a show since doing Big C Sports back in September of 2015. And I really do appreciate that. That was with the crew. But as things happen, things evolve, and I just love the fact that God allowed me to have this platform, and I want to give that some praise. I want to talk about a few things that's coming that I love also being a part of, invited to be a part of, because there's a lot of good things happening in the world of sports, international sports. I know we talk about football, basketball, baseball. I'm the only sports film that talks about reparations. I do it all by myself. I don't have 15 people sitting on the table saying who's going to go first. I want to also make sure that I bring up information on the Pan-African Global Trade and Investment. It's coming up, the International Sports Investment Trade Development. I'm going to be a part of that also with Big C Sports Podcast. And I thank brother Aleem Shabazz for that. And just a lot of great things happening. I want to get into some March Madness tonight because it's one shiny moment. And good old boys are trying to cut down them nets. And before they cut down them nets, I want to make sure that me as Big C Sports Podcast, that I give them all some praise. I want to give them praise. Everybody gets praise. Really do appreciate that. And the one shining moment when college basketball shows up in town, there's a lot of people that love their schools from sea to shining sea. But I got Big C's, the Sweet 16, and everybody has their own thoughts. March Madness is in its second weekend with 6 incredible days of the 2023 NCAA tournament action already in the books. And down to the Sweet 16, it could be bittersweet for some people that don't win. But by the time Friday turns to Saturday, the Elite Eight will be left with equal opportunities to compete for the national championship. And that one shiny moment for reparations will not be mentioned in the March Madness. You only hear it on Big C Sports Podcast. And I hope I'm wrong. But Thursday's action kicks off a 2-day bonanza of third-round play that will enter. It's amazing. A lot of these good old boys, it's the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Who will be the Cinderella? First-year coach Jerome Tang of Kansas State. He goes against veteran Tom Izzo of Michigan State in the Spartans. UConn seeks to continue. Oh, my goodness. Isn't that amazing what happened to sports? UConn's trying to continue his rebound against a very feisty Arkansas Razorback squad. If they could just keep the coach, Musselman, to keep his shirt on. Florida, I mean, it's amazing. FAU, and they aim to continue its incredible run as the biggest underdog of the night to Tennessee. Tennessee plays like they're a football team, or at least they work out with the football players. And then on the West Coast, down in what they call Sin City, Las Vegas, you have UCLA. They battle Gonzaga in a matchup of top 3 seeds that will conclude the 4-game slate. Will a Bruin beat a Bulldog? In real life, you betcha. We will see what happens on the hardwood. But everybody has their brackets filled out. Mine is Reparations will win the national championship for March Madness, because it would be madness if we don't get reparations to be covered more and more by these major networks that make a lot of money. March Madness will see nearly $1 billion pass through the coffers through March Madness. A lot of those black families won't benefit from it. They just won't. They'll get a hat and a T-shirt, and that's a shame. You could at least get an annuity because you make the effort happen. If black kids went on strike, there'd be no March Madness. Not like the days of segregation where they would not allow you to play. Now they want you to play, but they don't want you to play for money. They want you to play for a clap on the back and a hat and a T-shirt. But be that as it may, the way you make things better is you talk about it. You don't leave it quiet. If you feel a pain in your backside, you go to the doctor. You tell the doctor you got a pain in your backside. If the doctor says, well, let me check it out. Let me see what's causing that pain. They have you pull your pants down, and they realize you got a thumbtack in your backside. Well, they figured it out. But if you're just walking around with a thumbtack in your backside, you don't tell the doctor, then how are you going to pull it out? And sometimes that thumbtack is the pain of knowing that you're playing for free. And knowing that you're playing for free when some people don't even care. They just want you to keep playing for free. Well, Big C Sports cares, and that's why I will always talk about reparations. And I think on my side is California Governor Gavin Newsom, Sacramento, California Mayor Dale Steinberg, and there's just a lot of beautiful people. California Senator Stephen Bradley, a lot of good men that are part of reparations, the push for it. Just can't be quiet about it. I'm going to give some thoughts on the Sweet 16. And again, I don't talk about teams that I've already won, but Kansas State, they're a number 3 seed versus a number 7 seed, Michigan State. And now that game on Thursday already tipped off. It was on TBS. But just some thoughts going into it this morning when I was thinking about it. But you have to give credit where it's due, and that's Michigan State. It's been a fabulous story. It has been played incredibly well to get to this point when the odds have been very much stacked against them. No matter what you do, I think about the days when Magic Johnson with Michigan State played against Larry Bird at Indiana State. I believe that's back in the late 70s, 78 or 79, and that made March Madness more profitable. And now we see games all the time. But when I think about Michigan State and Izzo, he yells at everybody. He yells at his coaches. He yells at players. He yells at the fans. But he makes sure they get it. He makes sure they get it. And I got to look at how they've been a very tough team to stop. And then Kansas State, they're playing hot and will have the two best players, Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson on his side. And getting 2 points on that side is a good thing for them. And Kansas State, they're getting 2 points in this game. Michigan State is such a good team because they're battle-tested. And they're playing that battle-tested Big Ten conference, but the Big 12 was battle-tested also. But Izzo's been doing his thing for such a long time. I'm going to go with Izzo in this game to knock off Kansas State. And I may be wrong, who knows? Because Kansas State is a higher seed when you think about seeding, but that's just based on people's opinion. But when I watch games, Michigan State, they get into you. I know Kansas State's a number 3 seed, and Michigan State's a number 7 seed, but there's something about watching how they get into you and get up into you and make you really play and earn every point. That makes me think that they may have at least the edge when it comes to that, if that makes sense to you. Another big game. You got number 4 seed UConn against number 8 seed, the Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, who would win in a real fight between a Husky and a Razorback? I think a Razorback would beat a Husky, if that makes sense to you. But the UConn, their favorite, well, they're a number 4 seed. Arkansas is a number 8 seed. Thursday, 7:15 p.m. tip-off. Now, that game on CBS Sports, and UConn is for some people they're the pick to advance in this one. Arkansas also, they're a gritty team, and they can get up and down the court, and they can also slow the ball down too. But Arkansas is tough. It's tough to go against them. They play physical basketball. The Razorbacks have the goods in the backcourt led by Ricky Council, the sixth. And actually, the Ricky Council, the 4th. And then Devo Davis and Anthony Black to give this Huskies team a real push. I think you got to look at both sides of the table. On the side that Adam Sango, if Arkansas plays to his single possession late or even pulls off the takedown, it would not be surprising because they're getting 3.5 in this game. But if you watch them play, sometimes you got to throw the point spread away. I love the way Arkansas has been playing down the back nine. In fact, watching them come out of the SEC, you know they're battle-tested when you have teams like an Alabama and a team like a Tennessee, and they also have to take out Kentucky. I mean, they're playing almost like tournament basketball almost every week in the SEC, so we will see in that game. I don't really like picking young teams to beat another team. It's March Madness. I mean, we've had some number 1 seeds knocked out already. So who's to say if we're going to have even a number 1 seed left by the time they get into the Final Four? We don't know. It's about who gets the right edge at that time. It's situational basketball and what coaches will make the biggest adjustments for March Madness. So I feel I kind of lean toward Arkansas, but I may be wrong. I don't have a dog in the fight, if that makes sense to you, or a Husky or a Razorback, if that makes sense to you. Number 4, Tennessee. They're taking on number 9, Florida Atlanta. I think Tennessee's a better team, period. It's a 9 p.m. tip-off TBS. And without starting guard Zachy Ziegler, it feels like a blowout. I don't know what to say. The Volunteers could be a little bit vulnerable, but they're just so muscular. Now, FAU, the guards are playing at the top of their game, and Jonell Davis completely took over late versus Fairleigh Dickinson. But this is no Fairleigh Dickinson in Tennessee. That was a round 2 matchup. And when I think about it, the tenacity on defense, it could give the short-handed Tennessee backcourt a little bit of trouble. But I think when you look at the muscle that Tennessee has, they play very physical. I think they can just put a body on FAU and win that game. They're getting 5.5 FAU by the odds makers out of Las Vegas. I think Tennessee can win that game because they just seem to me like they're a much better basketball team, and everybody has their own thoughts on who the better basketball teams are. But I would go, in my opinion, I think the more muscle. I think Tennessee has the most muscle. They play on a stronger conference, and it's no accident that they're there, and I think they'll get that win. The big game of the night, the UCLA Bruins and the Gonzaga Bulldogs. UCLA seeded number 2. Gonzaga is seeded number 3. In a real fight, who would win, a Bruin or a Bulldog? I think a Bruin would take down a Bulldog 10 out of 10 times, if that makes sense to you. Game's Thursday, tips off at 9:45 p.m. East Coast time on CBS Sports. And the line has opened with UCLA favored by 1. And it's I think I even had a 2-point favorite, but that's a 1-possession game. I think it comes down to maybe a 2-possession game in the end. A lot of their ball games have ended very, very close to the end. Last time they played it was a Final Four a couple of years ago, and Gonzaga hit a buzzer beater, a half-court basket that beat UCLA in overtime. But this UCLA team, they're well-schooled, they're disciplined, as well as Mark Few's team. These are two great programs, and I look forward to seeing what happens. But I think about it. I look at what happens with UCLA going forward. They have one challenge is their big man, Adam Bona, has a shoulder injury, but I know they know how to get rid of that pain. He played well against Northwestern, even though he did not play a lot in that game. But I think Tyker Campbell, I think he makes all the difference when he has the ball in his hand for UCLA. I know they talk about Timmy getting some big moments into the game, but in my opinion, Tyker's going to be the difference in this game. He can penetrate the basket, and he can also, Jaquez can shoot the ball from the perimeter. I like the way UCLA is coached. Gonzaga's good too, but they tend to always fall with Mark Few. And maybe that's because they play in the West Coast Conference, where really their toughest competition, you're looking at St. Mary's College, and that's really it. I know they go outside of the conference and play a big schedule too, but UCLA, they're more tested, it seems, because they're playing programs like in Arizona or at Arizona State or at USC, and then at times when Oregon's been very good, and then they played tough non-conference games. They went on the road and beat Kentucky earlier this year. I just like the way that UCLA's playing in their own backyard. I know they were upset by Arizona at the same arena for the Pac-12 tournament, and it seems to me, great teams, great history, but UCLA has more history than Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga, for the 21st year in a row, Coach Few's had the Bulldogs in the March Madness, but again, you're primarily just beating St. Mary's, or every now and then when UOP has a good program, or Loyola Marymount, but that's about it. And you're the Pac-12, you're going through USC, Arizona, Arizona State, Oregon, plus you're playing the top of the line, non-league schedule or non-conference schedule too. And I think it's a little bit of payback for the UCLA Bruins. Everybody has their own thoughts, but a 1-point favorite out of Vegas is really a pick'em game. But I think Tyker Campbell, in my opinion, because he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot, and Jaquez too, those good boys, they make a big difference for the Bruins. If Timmy has a big game, he has to have a big game for them to pull off the upset, and a small upset it would be. But Adam Bona, I think if he's in there, he can kind of put the big shoulder on Timmy and give them more what they're looking for UCLA. Great basketball to be had all over the country. I wish everybody nothing but the best, and I want to give them all praise. Got to give them all praise because it's one shiny moment. It's one shiny moment, and may the best team win. I'm going to say that a Bruin can beat a Bulldog. It's just my story, and that's what I'm going to stick with, and everybody has their own opinions about it. And then we have tomorrow with the women starting out for their Sweet 16 as well, and that starts out on Friday, and the men start out tonight on Thursday. I mean, obviously, if you look at the women's side of things, I was surprised that Stanford got knocked out by the Ole Miss at home on the farm. But when you look at basketball, the Ole Miss upset of Stanford was big. 9th seeded Miami is sent a second number 1 seed home in as many nights, eliminating Indiana in Bloomington on Monday. It's the first time in 25 years that 2 number 1 seeds, they failed to reach the Sweet 16. And that's the women's tournament challenge right now. At the same time, I look forward to the great competition. In the 2 victories, the Hurricanes erased a 17-point deficit to beat Oklahoma State in a game in which they did not lead until the 4th quarter. And then Monday, they never trailed against the number 2 team in the country in another big upset. I look also around college basketball. You got to look at Virginia Tech. It's gone from a number 1 to a number 2, and now back to number 1. Tennessee has looked very good. The Lady Vols, they vaulted up 2 seeds. Ole Miss and Miami are still on the list. And who would have thought that Notre Dame, playing without 2 starting guards, would still be around, and Stanford with 2 All-Americans not around. That to me was a big upset on the West Coast. But as great as these teams have been, it's about who makes the big plays coming down the stretch. And to me, you got to look at number 1 seed, South Carolina, the Gamecocks, number 1 overall. They're just dominant and looking to roll again. And up next for them is UCLA. You got also UConn, the Huskies, the number 2 seed. They've been a dominant team all year long. And of course, that's just part of their lineage. It's just being dominant. Up next for them is Ohio State, the Buckeyes. You got the Iowa Hawkeyes, number 2 seed. And obviously, everybody has their own thoughts about who's going to win these games. The women don't get the same attention that the men get. Their next opponent is Colorado on Friday. You got Virginia Tech, the Hokies. What do you say about them? Well, they play Tennessee next. It's a tough matchup. I think it's tougher to win the March Madness in the men's than it is in the women's side. You got the Maryland Terrapins. They're a dominant program as well, coming out of the Northeast, and they're up next against Notre Dame. And these games will start in Friday and then Saturday also the Utah Utes. What a program. Utah's been winning the Pac-12 and football championships, and now they're finding themselves in March Madness for the ladies. Up next for Utah, LSU, and that game on Friday with the LSU Tigers out of the SEC, some Pac-12 and SEC action. And then the Tennessee Lady Vols, another great program over the years. They will play Virginia Tech, number 3 seed, Ohio State, the Buckeyes. It's amazing how we have these programs that are normally college powerhouses, and now you have the college basketball. They're dominating just like the college football programs are dominating, and they'll play UConn next. UCLA Bruins, talked about them earlier, and they got a big showdown with South Carolina. Villanova Wildcats, what a good program. Again, Villanova, they play Miami, and that's on Friday. Got Louisville, those Louisville Cardinals. What a name, Louisville. Got to get Lamar Jackson signed with somebody, but they play Ole Miss next, and that's just the way it goes. I'm telling you, the Ole Miss Rebels, what a win they had over Stanford. Did not see that coming at all. They take on they got on Louisville coming up. Colorado Buffaloes, another Pac-12 team. Depending on how the conference may split or realign, they may go back to the Big 12. Who knows? But they're playing Iowa next. Notre Dame fired an Irish. Talked about the play like a champion that they have for the football team, taking on Maryland and the Miami Hurricanes. Those good girls down in the South, they did not expect to be here, but tell Indiana that, and they're taking on Villanova. I wish them all nothing but the best. Give everybody some praise. The boys and girls of college basketball, and they're not getting paid either. The universities keep the money. Everybody gets paid but the athletes. Everybody. And for people that say, oh, they're getting a free education, no, it's not a free education. And we know they've been ripping them off. They've been ripping and running for all the years. It reminds me of a skit that I heard about in one of my favorite movies. It was called Smokey and the Bandit. And Smokey and the Bandit, you can read about, is analogous to the Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson. If you go to that website, you'll see a lot of important reading on that when it comes to economics. There was a great late Burt Reynolds and Buford T. Justice in Smokey and the Bandit. And Jared Buford T. Justice, he had to go to a pit stop because he was hungry, and he had to. In his word, he had to take a spurt. That's how he spoke about it anyway. And so he got a big C hamburger, and Burt Reynolds said, "Man, Sheriff, you look like you're in a hurry." He said, "Oh yeah, I'm in a hurry." He said, "Well, let me get that big C burger for you." He said, "Much obliged, much obliged." He said, "What are you doing? You look like you're looking for bank robbers." And Sheriff Buford T. Justice said, bank robbers and baby grips. What we're after, we're trying to find some reparations. Yeah, that's a praise. You got to give that movie some praise. I love that movie, Smokey and the Bandit. And I think about the same thing when I look at March Madness. Everybody's trying to get paid. Everybody is, either drafted or paid. But the money's coming through, and no one talks about it. And it's not right to keep doing that. Reparations will happen for descendants of chattel slavery. It will start in California. But sometimes we get used to things. So when I talk about March Madness, I think it's madness not to have reparations or anyone even talking about it. It's like the people who know it should be paid out, just like Silicon Valley Bank was bailed out. The banks of the Black Wall Street were not bailed out. And we're doing the same thing again, all this free labor. It's not right. It shouldn't happen. And we got to try to fix that. I want to touch on some NBA basketball because they get paid. They bring in a lot of money, but they also get paid for their effort. The New York Knicks at the Orlando Magic down in Florida, got the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are taking on the Brooklyn Nets over at the Barclays in Brooklyn. The Charlotte Hornets are taking on the New Orleans Pelicans down in beautiful New Orleans, Louisiana, if that makes sense to you. We have the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're down in Dimdare Hills taking on the Los Angeles Clippers. And that's a game that obviously, Paul George, I hope that Paul George gets better, but give that some praise. Hopefully he will get better. I know he had an injury. They're saying it might take 2 to 3 weeks for him to figure out if they can play or not. That hurts coming up on the playoffs. I know things are more important than just playoffs, but Paul George with that injury is maybe it was more scary. It looked more scary than what it really is. At least that's what I'm hoping. Now, we talk about athletes and information about Lamar Jackson. There's a memo, non-agents might be contacting teams for Lamar Jackson. Will he stay in Baltimore? I doubt it. And people talk about opportunities to buy franchises. Well, Tom Brady becomes minority owner of the WNBA's Las Vegas Aces. But he's not going to sign for the Las Vegas Raiders. That's Jimmy Garoppolo's job. So it used to be that Jimmy Garoppolo was chasing Tom Brady around. Now Tom Brady's trying to chase around Jimmy Garoppolo. It's all fair in love and war. So I just look for the best in sports. Also, there's some talk that Ezekiel Elliott is deciding who he wants to go to. Philadelphia's one of the teams that may have him, and I doubt if it's going to be that he gets released and goes and signs with the Philadelphia Eagles. But he's looking at the Eagles, he's looking at the Jets, and he's looking at the Bengals. He's a good pass blocker. He doesn't have that burst of speed that's going to break him for a 60-yard run anymore, but he is good coming out of the backfield and also on third and short. But he picks up the blitz as well as anyone, and you can ask the great Dak Prescott if that makes sense to you. Also, for the NFL draft, got Bryce Young and out of Santa Ana Mater Dei by way of Alabama, and then C.J. Stroud out of California Oaks Christian, and then Ohio State. They both look good, I think, in my opinion. When people keep saying, well, Bryce Young doesn't have the size that someone wants at the quarterback spot, if you look at Bryce Young and Russell Wilson, they're the same kind of players. Can they make plays? Yes. In fact, when Russell Wilson won the Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks over the Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning, I think Peyton Manning's about 6'5", 6'4", 6'5". Well, Russell Williams about 5'11", maybe 6 feet. And they won, I think it was 43-8. Did anyone say, I wonder if he's tall enough to play when Seattle beat him down 43-8. In fact, Russell Wilson, when they were playing the New England Patriots the next year, he should have turned around and given the ball to beast mode. But Tom Brady's about 6'4". Wilson's about 6 feet, 5'11", 6 feet, somewhere in there. And Seattle was about to win that game. Did anyone say, I wonder if he's tall enough? If you can play, you can play. That's important. Lamar Jackson's not the tallest quarterback in the NFL. We just came off of a Super Bowl with a touchdown, Patrick Mahomes. He won a Super Bowl. He's not the tallest quarterback in the NFL. It's not about how tall a quarterback is. It's about, can you make plays? And that's important because he's a playmaker. Brock Purdy for the San Francisco 49ers. He was undefeated when he played for the 49ers outside of being injured in the NFC Championship game at Philadelphia. He's not a 6'3", 6'4" quarterback. Jalen Touchdown Hurts, up for MVP of the NFL. And he's about 6'1", maybe 6 feet. It's not about how tall you are. It's about, can you make plays? Just like tonight from March Madness. You got to watch players that can make plays. It doesn't matter how tall you are or how heavy you are. If you can make plays, you make plays. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always say, there's never ever an excuse for drinking and driving. No man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with being in the back seat of someone who's drunk and driving. Mothers against drunk drivers are mad. Fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber. You can call Lyft. You can call a cab. You can drink it off. You can call someone that says they love you, and they can come pick you up. I've done it many times. There's a fatality that happened in Northern California earlier this year. Some people were out golfing and drinking and decided to drive home in the rain and racing a car, lost control, hit a tree, the car burst in flames, and 4 fatalities just like that. And rumor has it, the wife of the driver who was inebriated wants to sue the restaurant that was serving alcohol. The restaurant did not know that they did not get Uber or Lyft or call a cab, because that's what smart people do. And instead of suing the restaurant, sue the person that told the driver it was okay to drink and drive. That's a fact. There's 4 lives that are gone because someone said, oh, you can't tell me nothing. And now you want to sue people because of the fatality, when the fatality was caused by a drunk person driving and racing the car. And that's a shame. So if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. With all you've got to use, how can you lose? Ali would say, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly beat. All the Big C burgers make me light on my feet. That's why I float like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee. My beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, pick up the phone and call 911, because things change when the police show up. And no man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that garbage on their own. So as I always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. The great Jesse Jackson. Keep hope alive. Reparations now. Reparations forever. Reparations now. Reparations forever. Just like Silicon Valley Bank. Reparations now. Reparations forever.